If they were fishing, I had no reason to believe they were a sovereign citizen or anybody else, but just a normal person fishing. Yeah, my suspicion level is a lot lower than it was on that day.
Can we agree that pointing a gun at somebody without a legal basis for doing so is called an armed assault or an aggravated assault?
We could agree to that.
Okay. Can we agree that?
Did he object to
I think he did.
He
Did you object,
objected.
Rob?
I did.
Okay. Can we agree that unconsented touching of another person is, without legal justification, is the crime of battery?
Yes.
Can we agree that detaining somebody against their will without a legal basis for doing so is false imprisonment?
Yes.
Okay. In this quarterly training, were you told, or were your trainee or the trainees told, that they had done, that there were any errors or mistakes made on June 24th, 2018, in how that situation was handled by the Miami Beach Police Department?
Situation or that incident wasn't talked about, probably because it's an open case. Obviously, it is. So they're not gonna talk about the things that happened that day. Just a general, if you encounter someone fishing or hunting and they're open carried, they're in their legal obligation too.
Okay. You were told that is a lawful thing to do.
Correct.
Objection in the form of the question.
You were told during the training that a person openly carrying while hunting, fishing, or camping is acting within the law.
Objection in the form of the question.
It was reiterated, yes.
Okay. Were you instructed that you should still make contact and run their background to see if they're a felon or other prohibited person?
Objection in the form.
That would have to be on the officer's discretion or the type of call that comes in through dispatch.
Is that what the training people told you?
I don't remember the specifics except for those big key points.
Okay. Do you know if you got a printed material that day for that training?
I'm sure the training unit could provide that at the Miami Beach Police Station.
Okay. The question was, did you get printed material that day?
I don't remember if I did or not.
Okay. Have you been told by any supervising officer that you did anything wrong during that incident on June 24th, 2018?
No.
As you look back, do you believe you made any errors that day?
No.
Did you make any notes regarding any of these conversations you had with these other officers in between the various times you were turning the video off?
No.
Did you make any written notes that day?
No.
Have you ever received any training specifically regarding the right of certain people to openly carry or conceal carry firearms in the state of Florida other than the quarterly training you've already told me about?
I can't remember.
Have you ever received any training regarding citizens' right to bear arms?
Yes, because there are citizens can bear arms.
Okay. Were you taught how to check concealed carry licenses to see if they were valid?
We'll run the CCW number. Make sure it's good, valid,
Okay.
through records.
When you encounter a person with a concealed carry license, how do you search that information to see if it's a valid license?
We usually do it through Channel 4, which is the records channel on the radios.
Okay. And they check with somebody and let you know, yeah, it's a valid license?
They do what they do, and they tell us, yes, it's good or it's not valid or whatever.
So you tell them this is a license number, they come back a few minutes later or however much later and let you know license is valid?
Yes.
Okay. But even if a person has a valid concealed carry license and all we're dealing with is a speeding ticket, you're still going to completely empty any magazines, right?
It depends on the situation.
Okay, so it's not a standard policy to empty every round out of a magazine when you have to take a gun for your safety.
I don't believe it is. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to review it.
Is it your policy to, and we'll go with the most mundane thing I can think of in the world, yet I know they can be dangerous. Pull over somebody for speeding. They're very polite, cordial with you, no aggression, no talking back. Do you normally ask them if they have any firearms in the car?
I usually, and I train officers too, and that's usually that's one of the questions you ask in the initial, license, registration, insurance. Are there any weapons in the vehicle?
Okay. And if they say yes, there's a firearm in the vehicle, do you have a standard thing that you do?
Usually, we'll just keep your hands where we can see them. We'll request for a backup officer if one's not already a rival. We'll ask them, okay, where is it? It's in my glove. It's in my holster. I got it on my side here. No problem. Safely come out or safely go through the glove. Once the gun's secured, okay, now we can continue on with the investigation.
So your standard procedure, even for a traffic accident where they notify you the gun's there, is you're going to get them out of the car and get that gun away from them.
Our priority is to make the scene safe. So yes.
Okay. Because you believe that taking that gun away from them makes the scene safer.
Objection, form of the question.
All right. You said, if I understood your statement correctly, you always take the gun away from the person, no matter what the circumstances, when you're having to investigate something, even a speeding ticket, right?
If I know there's a weapon, whether it's a firearm or a knife, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to warn you, Florida law separately defines weapon and firearm. So if I say weapon, I mean anything other than a gun. If I say firearm, I only mean firearm.
Okay.
And that's all I'm worried about today is firearms. Is it your standard policy to remove a firearm from anybody, no matter what the circumstances, when, for example, a traffic stop?
Objection, form of the question. Go ahead, answer.
Yes.
Okay. And is it your policy that they're not going to have that gun back loaded until after you have departed the scene?
Correct. After we cleared, make sure everything checks out. There's nothing, no felony or wanted person or something with a firearm or anything like that, stolen firearm.
And you have not been given any training at any point to tell you don't do that without having some extra suspicion that there's something going on?
No.
Okay. You didn't make any written notes about the incident for yourself, did you?
I did not.
So, do you have any memory of anything else specifically that was said during the times your body cam was off?
The
Form of the question.
The specifics, no.
Okay. Do you remember the specifics anybody else said to you while your body cam was off?
No.
So we need to rely on your body cam and nothing else in terms of recollection, because you have no independent memory, right?
As
Objection,
far as
form of the question.
exact verbiage, yes.
Okay. Do you remember the general content of any of the discussions while your body cam was turned off?
Objection, repetitious. You can answer it again.
And just the general investigations is probably what was discussed while the camera was off.
Just curious question. Why not just leave it on while you're having this discussion with her?
Objection, form of the question. You
just so-
answer it. Go ahead.
Just so investigation talks about the investigation, police tactics, things like that aren't captured on BWC.
Well, you already told me police tactics weren't discussed that day.
Well, I'm just giving an example
Okay. That day, why not just let it record?
because things have to be discussed.
But it wasn't police tactics you were discussing. What about the investigation was so sensitive that you couldn't leave it running?
Objection, form of the question.
It's just common practice. The point, the reason for the BWCs is for the interaction with the public, not so much the interaction with other officers.
Have you been warned that officers have gotten in trouble for things that they've said on their body-worn cameras when they didn't remember they were running?
Objection, form of the question. Argumentative.
Ask me if he's been informed. Have you?
I've seen news stories, yes.
Did you specifically see a sign that day that prohibited firearms on the pier?
I did, yes.
Okay. Did you take a picture of it?
I don't remember if I did.
Okay. Did you order or instruct any other officer to take a picture of that sign?
I don't remember.
Do you remember if it was a sign that appeared to have been put up by the city of Miami Beach?
Yes.
That's who it appeared to be put up by, was City of Miami Beach?
It's a city pier, so I'm assuming it was a city sign.
Okay. Did that sign say no firearms on it?
The sign had multiple rules, one of them being no firearms.
Okay. At the point where you walked onto that pier, did you believe that that sign carried some legal weight?
I don't think I even looked at the sign. That wasn't my priority at the moment.
When you walked out there? You mean, you're saying you didn't look at the sign when you first went out on the pier?
That was the least of my worries at that moment.
Okay. Did you look at the sign later that day?
Yes.
Did you actually discuss that sign's existence with any other officer that day?
I may have.
Okay. And did knowing that that sign was out there lead you at some point to believe that they weren't allowed to have guns on the pier, period, because of that sign?
It brought up questions.
Okay. How did you resolve that question?
I didn't resolve anything. It was just a question that was brought up. Is this sign, what is this sign? Does this sign hold any weight? Does the city have any superseding authority?
Okay.
You know, those are just questions that were asked, but
Okay. Did you get any answers to any of those questions that day?
that day I believe not. I think as time went on, and obviously when the training came in, then it was realized that, okay, the city can't supersede the state or the government, you know, the federal government.
So you understand as you sit here today that it doesn't matter what that sign says, people are allowed to have firearms on the pier, right?
Objection, form of the question.
Today, yes.
Okay. But during that day, while the incident was still going on, it was a question in your mind as to whether or not people could have guns on the pier because there was a sign there, right?
Objection, form of the question.
It did bring up that question.
And you weren't able to resolve it that day?
I didn't have an answer.
Okay. Do you know if Lieutenant Garcia gave you an answer that day on that issue?
Don't remember.
Do you know if anybody else gave you an answer that day on that issue?
That day, no. I cannot recall.
If your name's on it and you approved it, that means you felt like they were sufficiently detailed with their description of the event?
Objection, form of the question.
Correct.
You ever tell them, sorry, this isn't detailed enough, go back and do it again? Just in general, in your job.
There may be times, yeah.
Do you remember if you did that with any of the reports that were about this incident?
I don't believe I rejected. I think there's a way to find out through the records department or something, but I don't know. I don't recall rejecting reports.
Do you remember Lieutenant Garcia making any comments to anybody that we really need to get this right when we write these reports?
Objection, form of the question.
I'm sure it was mentioned to, make sure you guys document this as accurately, what happened. Make sure it's documented,
Why would he have said that in this case? Does he say that in every case?
Form of the question.
That may have been something I may have said,
Okay. Why would you, if you said it, why would you have said something like that about this case?
Realizing where this case was going to end up. We have the Florida Carry people brought their own reporters there, so I'm already seeing, okay, this is something that's going to continue to I guess we're going to have to deal with this for a while. So we want to make sure everything's on point.
You said that the Florida Carry people brought their own reporters to the scene.
Yeah, cameramen.
Okay. Who told you, or what information do you have to support that statement that they brought cameras or reporters to the scene?
They were filming us.
Who was filming you?
One of the cameramen.
Okay. Did that cameraman have press credentials?
I don't recall. And they were asking, the public. It's like, which is also on BWC, informing them of the rules, reference open carry and fishing.
Did somebody tell you that Florida Carry arranged to have those reporters there?
No.
Did somebody tell you that Florida Carry arranged to have any cameramen there other than the cameras that were on Mr. Taylor or Mr. Jenkins?
No.
Okay. It's just an assumption you made.
Yes.
You don't have any specific information, knowledge, or evidence that Florida Carry arranged for reporters to be there?
I don't have any of that evidence, no.
Okay. You remember any officer laughing about which of Mr. Taylor's shoulders were messed up?
Objection to form of the question.
No.
I asked you earlier about photographing. You don't remember specifically Miss Officer Bacelis, is that how her name's pronounced?
Baselis,
Baselis.
she's Lozano now.
Okay. You didn't see her specifically photographing any serial numbers or anything?
I did not.
No further questions.
You remember any of the participants that day on the pier mentioning that they had sent notification to the city before the date of their demonstration?
Yes.
Object form.
And do you remember who said that?
I'd have to review the camera. I'm going to assume Taylor.
Did you ever receive any notification that Florida Carry was going to hold an event the day of this incident?
Object form.
I did not.
Did any of the officers, to your knowledge, advise you that they had received notification that Florida Carry was going to hold an event the date of this incident?
Object form.
They were not. They didn't advise me. No.
When the park was the pier was closed, were any officers remaining in the park?
Yes.
And how many?
Lieutenant Garcia advised me to have just 2 officers just hang out in the park area.
What was the reason for that?
One of the gentlemen advised that he was going to continue fishing. Once again, anticipating we're probably going to get calls. It was just easier to just have officers there, just in case of whatever. In case someone calls, a frantic parent maybe.
Did you know whether these individuals had committed any offenses?
Offenses?
Yes.
No.
Did you know?
Did I know? No.
Did you know if they planned to commit any offenses?
No.
Object form.
No further questions.
You said you left 2 off. Sorry, Mr. Rosenwald. I forget you're on the phone.
You have any?
I'm easily forgettable. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Wait.
I got a quick redirect.
Oh, all right. Hold off on the great weekend.
Yeah. So, Sergeant Baldock,
Yes.
you said Lieutenant Garcia told you to leave 2 officers there.
Correct.
So the 2 officers were going to be there anyway, right? Because Mr. Weiss was.
Objection to the form of the question.
2 officers were left there because one of Mr. Weiss said he was going to stay.
Okay. So why not let Mr. Weiss back out on the pier if there's going to be 2 officers there anyway?
Objection to the form of the question.
That wasn't my decision to make.
But doesn't that solve the problem of officers having to come back out for more calls?
Objection to the form of the question.
Whether he was on the pier or fishing from the rocks, it wouldn't have made a difference. People may still call.
And so we're going to have 2 officers there to deal with that, right?
Correct.
So why not let everybody back out on the pier then?
Objection to the form of the question.
Once again, that wasn't my call.
But doesn't that kind of dispute your earlier possible reason to avoid future calls?
Objection to the form of the question.
I didn't make that decision.
Okay.
I think we've heard that a few times today.